Dr. Han.1 stood in front of the large glass enclosure, watching Kong eat his breakfast. The orange-haired orangutan carefully peeled a banana and took small, thoughtful bites. He was different from other orangutans Dr. Han had worked with. There was something special in his eyes, a spark of understanding that went beyond normal animal intelligence. "You're coming with me to space, friend," Dr. Han said softly. He placed his hand on the glass, and Kong moved closer, placing his large hand opposite Dr. Han's on the other side. This was their morning ritual, one they had shared for the past 5 years. The door to the research facility opened with a loud buzz. Captain Song Mei-Rui walked in, her space uniform neat and crisp. Her face showed she was not happy. "Dr. Han, the crew is talking," she said, looking at Kong with doubt in her eyes. "They say you want to bring the orangutan on our diplomatic mission. Please tell me this is a joke." Dr. Han turned to face her. "Captain Song, Kong is not just any orangutan. He can understand 600 words in sign language. He can read basic emotions in humans better than most people can. He could be very helpful in understanding alien species." Captain Song shook her head. "This is the first time Earth is joining the Galactic Alliance. We need to show them our best. We need to show them we are advanced and civilized. How will it look if we bring an ape on our ship?" Kong watched them talk. He picked up another banana, peeled it, and broke it in half. Then he did something that made Captain Song's eyes go wide. He pushed one half through the feeding slot, offering it to them. "See," Dr. Han smiled. "He understands we're having a serious talk. He's trying to help us solve the problem peacefully. This is exactly why we need him." Captain Song looked at the banana, then at Kong. The orangutan's eyes were calm and intelligent. He made a simple sign with his hands, one Dr. Han recognized as friend. "Kong has been learning about different species all his life," Dr. Han continued. "He can spot tiny changes in body language that humans often miss. With alien species, this skill could be priceless." Captain Song was quiet for a moment. She picked up the banana half and looked at it thoughtfully. "The Galactic Alliance has over 50 different species. Some look like insects, others like clouds of gas. You really think an orangutan could help us understand them?" "I think Kong could surprise everyone," Dr. Han said. He turned back to the enclosure. Kong was now working on a puzzle cube, his large fingers moving the colored squares with careful precision. "He has surprised me every day for 5 years." The next week, as the Earth ship New Horizon prepared for its first diplomatic mission, crew members watched in amazement as a special room was prepared next to the main conference area. It had climbing ropes, comfortable resting areas, and a clear view of the meeting space. Kong explored his new home with calm curiosity, while Dr. Han explained the safety features to a still uncertain Captain Song. "If anything goes wrong, if he shows any sign of stress, he goes back to Earth immediately," Captain Song said firmly. Dr. Han nodded. "I understand, Captain, but I don't think we'll have any problems." He watched as Kong arranged his blankets and toys exactly how he liked them. "I think we're about to show the galaxy something they've never seen before." As the ship's engines started up, Kong moved to the window to watch Earth get smaller. He made the sign for adventure, then the sign for friend. Dr. Han smiled. Somewhere out there, among the stars, the most unexpected diplomat in human history was about to make his mark on the galaxy. The New Horizon lifted off, carrying its unusual crew member towards the stars. Nobody knew it yet, but the orange-haired ape from Earth was about to change galactic history forever. The meeting room on the New Horizon was silent. 6 reptilian aliens from the Kree Empire sat on one side of the table. Their scales were dark green, and their yellow eyes watched the humans with cold interest. Captain Song Mei-Rui led the human team on the other side. Through the clear observation wall, Kong watched everything carefully. Dr. Han stood near Kong's room, taking notes on a tablet. He noticed how Kong's eyes followed every small movement the Kree made. The orangutan was completely still, which was unusual for him. Earth is very young, said the Cree leader, Tall Rex. His tongue flicked out when he spoke. Your species has barely left your planet. Why should we trust you with important trade routes? Captain Song kept her voice calm. We may be young, but we learn quickly. Earth has much to offer the galaxy. The Cree members whispered to each other in their language. Kong moved closer to the window. His fingers made quick signs to Dr. Han. Danger, not truth. Watch hands. Dr. Han looked more closely at the Cree. Under the table, their clawed hands were moving in patterns. One of them was slowly reaching for something in his sleeve. Before Dr. Han could shout a warning, Kong acted. He pressed the emergency door release, something he had watched the humans do during safety drills. The door slid open with a soft hiss. The Cree member pulled out a small weapon, but Kong was faster. With incredible speed, the orangutan swung into the room on one of his ropes. He landed between Captain Song and the armed Cree. Everyone froze. Kong stood at his full height. He was shorter than the Cree, but his shoulders were twice as wide. He made a gentle sound deep in his throat, the same sound he used to calm scared animals in his old research facility. The armed Cree hissed and pointed his weapon at Kong, but Kong didn't attack. Instead, he slowly reached out and picked up a fruit from the meeting table. With careful movements, he peeled it and broke it in half. He offered one half to the surprised Cree. The room was completely quiet. The Cree leader, Tall Rex, stared at Kong with all three of his eyelids open, a sign of complete attention in their species. What is this creature? Tall Rex asked. This is Kong, Dr. Han said, stepping into the room. He is an orangutan, one of Earth's great apes. He saw your colleague's weapon before any of us did, but instead of attacking, he offers friendship. The armed Cree lowered his weapon slowly. Kong gently placed the fruit half in front of him, then backed away. He sat down near Captain Song, his eyes still watching everyone carefully. Interesting, Tall Rex said. Your people bring an animal to diplomatic meetings, yet this animal shows more wisdom than many diplomats I have met. Captain Song smiled. Kong is part of our team. On Earth, we learn from all forms of life, not just our own species. The meeting continued, but now everything was different. The Cree put their weapons away. They asked questions about Earth's other species. Kong stayed in the room, a calm presence that seemed to make everyone more honest. When the Cree left hours later, Tall Rex bowed to Kong first, then to the humans. We will tell the Galactic Council that Earth brings new ways of thinking, he said, and that they have very unusual diplomats. After they left, Captain Song looked at Kong, who was contentedly eating a banana. Dr. Han, she said, I think I understand now why you wanted him here. Kong made the sign for friend again. Then he added a new sign he had learned. Space. The stars outside the window sparkled, and Earth's most unusual diplomat prepared for his next adventure. Dr. Lee Jinho stared at his communication screen in amazement. Every message light was blinking. The video of Kong stopping the Cree assassination attempt had spread across the galaxy faster than a comet. 2 million views on the galactic network, he said, shaking his head. And that's just in the last hour. In his special room, Kong was doing his morning exercises, swinging smoothly between his ropes. He seemed unaware that he had become the most famous Earth creature in space. A holographic news report played on the wall. In an unprecedented diplomatic event, an Earth primate showed remarkable wisdom in preventing violence during talks with the Cree Empire. Sources say this orangutan combined incredible strength with unexpected gentleness. Dr. Han walked in with Kong's breakfast. More interview requests, he asked, seeing Dr. Lee's tired face. The Nebula News Network wants to do a live broadcast. The Crystal people of Andromeda want to make Kong an honorary peace guardian. Even the hive mind of Sector 7 is interested, and they rarely care about individual beings. Kong climbed down to get his breakfast. He looked at the holographic images of himself with mild interest, then went back to peeling his banana. Dr. Han smiled at his calm attitude. Captain Song entered the communications room. "The Galactic Council is calling again," she said. "They want to know more about Earth's warrior monks. They think all orangutans are peaceful warriors who train in ancient Earth wisdom." Dr. Lee played another news clip. Alien children were now playing with toy orangutans. Some older aliens were trying to copy Kong's peaceful fruit-sharing gesture. On 3 different planets, people had started Kong meditation centers. "Should we tell them that not all orangutans are like Kong?" Dr. Lee asked. Dr. Han watched as Kong carefully sorted his breakfast fruits by color, something he did every morning. "Maybe Kong is showing everyone something important," he said. "You don't need fancy technology or weapons to be wise. Sometimes the simplest actions are the most powerful." The ship's computer announced another incoming call. This time it was from a group of young aliens who had started a fan club called the Way of Kong. They wanted to learn about Earth's other animals and understand more about living in harmony with different species. Kong made his way to the communication screen. He recognized himself in the images and made the sign for friends, followed by many. Then he did something new. He reached for Dr. Lee's tablet and carefully drew a simple picture. It showed different shapes, all connected in a circle. "He's drawing the idea of connection," Dr. Han explained to the amazed aliens watching. "Kong understands that everyone in the galaxy is connected, no matter how different we look." The young aliens were thrilled. Soon, Kong's simple drawing was appearing everywhere as a symbol of galactic unity. Captain Song watched all this with a smile. "When we left Earth, I thought bringing Kong was a mistake," she said. "Now I'm starting to think he might be the most important crew member we have." As the day ended, Dr. Lee finally turned off his communication screen. Through the window, he could see the stars stretching out endlessly. Somewhere out there, millions of beings were learning about peace and wisdom from an orangutan from Earth. Kong settled into his sleeping area, arranging his blankets just the way he liked them. Before going to sleep, he made one last sign. Tomorrow, even as his fame spread across the galaxy, he remained focused on the simple things: friendship, peace, and maybe a few extra bananas. The main hall of the Galactic Council was enormous. The ceiling reached up so high it disappeared into darkness. Beings from 100 different worlds filled the room. Some floated like clouds, others moved on many legs, and some looked like walking crystals. Kim Yoo-jin, the youngest human diplomat on the New Horizon, stood next to Kong. She had spent the last month learning to understand his every gesture and expression. Now, they were about to attend their first major council meeting. "Are you ready?" she asked Kong quietly. The orangutan made a slow, careful gesture that meant watch and learn. His eyes moved across the room, taking in every detail. Kim noticed how he paid special attention to the way different species moved and greeted each other. The council leader, a tall being made of shifting blue light, spoke. "We have called this meeting to discuss trade routes through the stellar wind region. 6 species claim ownership of these routes." Kong watched as representatives from each species presented their case. Some pounded their appendages in anger. Others released clouds of color to show their emotions. One species communicated by changing the patterns on their skin. Kim saw Kong's fingers moving slightly. He was making notes in his own way, recording the body language and emotional signs of each species. She wrote everything down on her tablet. When the arguments became heated, Kong did something unexpected. He walked to the center of the room, carrying a large piece of fruit from Earth, a watermelon. The room fell silent. With careful movements, Kong cut the watermelon into 6 equal pieces. He arranged them in a circle, just like the trade routes on the star map. Then he made a series of simple gestures that Kim translated for everyone. Kong suggests that, like the pieces of fruit, each root is part of a whole. They work better together than separate. He notices that all 6 species show signs of wanting peace, even when their words say otherwise. The council leader's light flickered with interest. "The Earth primate sees what we do not." "Explain." Kim translated as Kong pointed out subtle signs. The way the angry species kept their young close, showing they valued safety over conflict. How the color cloud species made peaceful patterns when they thought no one was watching. How the crystal beings oriented themselves toward each other like friends, even while arguing. Remarkable, the council leader said. In all our debates, we never noticed these signs of harmony beneath the conflict. The 6 species looked at each other differently now. Kong's simple demonstration with the watermelon made them see their problem in a new way. Soon, they began discussing how to share the routes instead of fighting over them. After the meeting, Dr. Han found Kim making notes about everything that had happened. Kong did more than help with one trade agreement today, he said. He showed the council a new way to solve problems. Kim nodded. He sees things we all miss. The little signs that show what people really want beneath all their words. That evening, Kong sat in his room, enjoying a piece of watermelon safe from the meeting. On the walls, star maps showed hundreds of trade routes, all connected like pieces of fruit arranged in a circle. The simple wisdom of an Earth orangutan was changing how the greatest minds in the galaxy thought about peace. Dr. Han watched Kong finish his watermelon and make the sign for progress. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, the galaxy was learning that sometimes the quietest observer could be the wisest voice in the room. The news spread through the New Horizon like a lightning bolt. The Nexus Collective, a powerful group of warrior species, had challenged Earth's right to join the Galactic Council. Their representative, a towering figure in gleaming battle armor, stood in the ship's main hall. "Your species is too young, too weak," the Nexus warrior said. His voice echoed through the metal walls. "We demand the ancient right of trial by combat. One champion from Earth against one of ours." Captain Song Mayray stood straight and calm, but her hands were tight at her sides. "The trial by combat is rarely used now," she said. "Surely we can find another way." The warrior's armor made clicking sounds as he moved. "The trial is our right under council law. If you refuse, Earth loses its place automatically." Dr. Han watched from near Kong's observation room. The orangutan was completely still, his eyes fixed on the Nexus warrior. Then Kong did something that made everyone in the room gasp. He pressed his door release and walked straight to the warrior. "Kong, no." Dr. Han started forward, but Kim Yoo-jin held up her hand. "Wait," she said softly. "Look at his movements. He knows exactly what he's doing." Kong stopped in front of the warrior, who was twice his size. With clear, deliberate gestures, he made the signs for challenge and accept. Kim translated for everyone. The warrior's helmet turned toward Kong. "You? An animal. You would represent Earth in combat." Kong stood at his full height. His movements were calm and controlled. He picked up a piece of metal from a nearby table and bent it easily into a curve, then placed it gently down. The message was clear. He had strength, but he could control it. The Nexus warrior was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed, a sound like thunder. "The council said Earth brings new ways of thinking. Now I see they were right. Very well, Earth Primate. I accept your challenge." Captain Song stepped forward. "Kong, you don't have to do this. We can find another way." But Kong turned to her and made the signs Kim knew well. "Trust. Right thing." The warrior began to leave, his armor clanking. "The combat will be in 3 days at the council arena. My champion will be Nexur, our greatest fighter. He has never lost a battle." After the warrior left, everyone started talking at once. Park Sunwoo, the combat instructor, immediately began planning training sessions. Dr. Han worried about Kong's safety. Captain Song called an emergency meeting. But Kong remained calm. He returned to his room and began his usual evening exercises, moving through them with perfect focus. Through the observation window, Kim watched him. "Why did you stop, Dr. Han?" Captain Song asked her. "Because I've learned to read Kong like he reads others," Kim answered. "He wasn't just volunteering for a fight. He was making a point about Earth itself, that were different from what they expect. That wisdom comes in many forms. That night, as the ship's lights dimmed to evening mode, Kong sat looking at the stars. He made one final sign before sleeping. Ready. The next 3 days would test not just Kong's strength, but everything he represented about Earth's way of doing things. The galaxy was about to see if wisdom could truly overcome pure force. The council arena was filled with beings from across the galaxy. They had all come to watch the combat between Kong and Nexer, the champion of the Nexus Collective. Park Sun-woo watched from Earth's section, remembering the training sessions he had shared with Kong over the past 3 days. Nexer entered the arena first. His cybernetic armor glowed with power. Weapons were built into his arms, and his mechanical legs made the ground shake when he walked. He stood 4 meters tall, gleaming under the arena lights. Kong entered next. He walked calmly on 2 legs, carrying nothing. He looked small compared to Nexer, but his movements showed no fear. The crowd went quiet, watching the strange Earth creature. "Begin," called the council leader. Nexer charged forward, his mechanical arms reaching for Kong. Everyone expected Kong to run or fight back. Instead, he did something surprising. He sat down and began peeling a banana. The cyber warrior stopped, confused. Kong took a small bite of his banana, then held out the other half to Nexer. The audience was completely silent. "What trick is this?" Nexer's voice boomed through his armor. "You mock our sacred combat." Kong shook his head slowly. He put down the banana and made the sign for watch. Then he pointed at Nexer's legs. The warrior had stopped in a patch of special arena sand, and his heavy mechanical feet were slowly sinking. "He's using Nexer's weight against him," Park said to Captain Song. "Just like we practiced." Nexer tried to move, but his feet were stuck. His powerful weapons were useless if he couldn't aim them properly. Kong moved around him carefully, not attacking, but showing how easily he could. The warrior tried to free himself, but each movement made him sink deeper. His advanced armor, which made him so strong, was now his weakness. Kong circled him, staying just out of reach. "Fight me," Nexer shouted. He fired his weapons, but Kong moved smoothly between the blasts, like he was dancing through his ropes back on the ship. Finally, Nexer's armor shut down from overheating. He was stuck in the sand up to his knees, unable to move. Kong walked up to him calmly and did something unexpected. He helped pull Nexer free. The arena was silent for a moment. Then the council leader spoke. "The Earth champion has won, not through violence, but through wisdom. He showed mercy when he could have struck. He helped an enemy when he could have left him trapped." Nexer stood still for a long moment. Then he did something that shocked everyone. He laughed. "In all my battles, I have never been defeated like this," he said. He turned to the council. "The Earth creature has honor. His victory is true." Kong picked up his banana again and took another bite. He made the sign for friend, which Kim translated for everyone. The crowd cheered as Nexer sat down next to Kong, his armor powering down completely. Park Sun-woo smiled proudly. During training, Kong never practiced attacking moves. He told the amazed Captain Song. He only wanted to learn about balance and movement. He knew all along that the best victory would be won without violence. That evening, as the New Horizon celebrated, Kong returned to his usual routine. He arranged his blankets, sorted his fruits, and watched the stars. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, but for now, he had shown the galaxy that true strength comes in many forms. 3 months after Kong's victory in the arena, Dr. Han Dadwon sat in his office on the New Horizon, reading reports from across the galaxy. The changes that had spread through space were remarkable. On every screen, he saw Kong's influence growing in unexpected ways. Dr. Choi Da-hai, the ship's xenoanthropologist, entered with more data. "You should see this," she said, showing him her tablet. 20 different species have started what they call Kong centers on their home worlds. They study both orangutan behavior and human teaching methods. In his specially designed room, Kong continued his daily routines as if nothing had changed. He still arranged his fruits carefully, exercised on his ropes, and watched the stars. But now, important visitors from across the galaxy would sit quietly and observe him for hours. What exactly do they learn from watching him? Captain Song asked during the morning meeting. Dr. Choi explained, "They say Kong shows them a perfect balance. He is strong but gentle, simple but wise. They see how he uses his strength only when needed, and how he always chooses peace first." The ship's communication screen lit up with another call. This time it was from a group of young Nexus warriors. After Kong's victory, they had changed their training completely. Instead of practicing attacks, they now studied patience and careful movement. "Kong has changed how we think about power," their leader said. "True strength is not about weapons or size. It is about knowing when not to use your strength." Kim Yoo-jin, who still worked as Kong's interpreter, spent her days teaching other species about Kong's sign language. "They don't just want to learn the signs," she told Dr. Han. "They want to understand how Kong thinks, how he sees the world." Even the Kree Empire, who had once doubted Earth, now sent their diplomats to study with Kong. They watched how he solved simple puzzles, shared his food, and stayed calm in any situation. "There is more wisdom in his silence than in all our speeches," one Kree diplomat said. Dr. Han remembered how Kong used to work with scared animals back on Earth, helping them feel safe. Now he did the same thing with beings from across the galaxy. When two species couldn't agree, they would come to Kong. He would share fruit with them and make simple signs about peace and friendship. "Kong's way of doing things is spreading," Dr. Choi said, showing more data. "Species that have fought for centuries are now sitting together, sharing food like Kong taught them. They call it the Kong way, solving problems with wisdom instead of force." In the evening, as the ship's lights dimmed, Kong sat with a group of crystal beings who had traveled far to meet him. He showed them how to peel a banana, a simple act that they recorded as if it were the most important lesson in the universe. "Perhaps it is," Dr. Han said to Captain Song as they watched. "Kong teaches everyone to slow down, to be gentle, to think before acting." In a galaxy full of advanced technology and weapons, his simple wisdom might be exactly what everyone needed. Kong made his evening signs: friends, peace, and tomorrow. Across the galaxy, millions of beings were learning these signs, not just as movements, but as a way of life. The orange-haired ape from Earth had become more than just famous. He had become a legend who was changing the galaxy one peaceful gesture at a time. 1 year had passed since Kong first left Earth. The main chamber of the Galactic Council looked very different now. Next to the council leader's platform stood a special seat made of living plants. This was Kong's place of honor, where he sat during important meetings. Dr. Han Da-won stood at the speaking platform, presenting his report to the council. In just 1 year, conflict between species has decreased by 60%. Trade agreements have increased by 40%. All this started with one simple idea: that wisdom and kindness are universal languages. Captain Song Mi-rae sat in the Earth section, looking at the small orangutan statue on her command tablet. Similar statues now sat in government buildings across the galaxy. They reminded everyone of the day an Earth primate changed how the galaxy thought about power and peace. Kong entered the chamber in his usual calm way. Different species bowed as he passed, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. He carried his morning fruit with him. He never changed his simple habits, even after becoming the most respected being in the galaxy. "The Earth delegation has a question," announced the council leader. They wish to know if Kong would prefer to return home now that his mission is complete. Everyone turned to watch Kong. He had taught them all to look for meaning in small movements and simple gestures. Now they waited to see what he would choose. Kong made his signs carefully, and Kim Yoo-jin translated. "He says the ship is his home now. The galaxy is his home. Everywhere there are friends is home." Dr. Choi Da-hai added another report to the council records. Kong's influence has created something new in our galaxy. Species that once feared each other now work together. They solve problems by watching for small signs of friendship, just as Kong taught them. In the past year, Kong had done more than just attend meetings. He had shown the galaxy a new way of seeing things. When the crystal beings of Andromeda were fighting over mining rights, Kong taught them to share resources like he shared his fruit. When the cloud people of Sector 9 couldn't agree on territory borders, Kong showed them how his room had no real walls, yet everyone respected his space. When the Nexus Collective wanted to build bigger weapons, Kong demonstrated how his simple ropes and blankets were all he needed to be happy. Kong has given us a great gift, said the council leader. He has shown us that power can be gentle, wisdom can be simple, and anyone can change the galaxy if they have peace in their heart. As the council meeting ended, Kong returned to the New Horizon. The ship had become famous across space as the home of the galaxy's wisest diplomat. In his room, Kong arranged his blankets and picked up a tablet. On it, he drew simple pictures that would be studied by millions. Pictures of different beings sharing food, helping each other, and choosing peace. Captain Song watched him from the doorway. When we left Earth, I thought we were teaching the galaxy about humanity, she said to Dr. Han. Instead, Kong taught all of us, humans included, about what it truly means to be wise. Kong looked out at the stars, making his familiar evening signs. Friends, peace, tomorrow. But now he added a new sign, one he had created himself. Kim translated it with a smile. Together. The galaxy had changed, and on the New Horizon, an orangutan from Earth continued his simple routines, showing everyone that sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from the most unexpected places.